The alien queen froze after hearing me speak the forgotten language of legends. The chamber of the Jarun Dominion was larger than any city Elias Wren had ever seen. It stretched outward like a hollowed diamond, its walls made of translucent crystal that glowed with soft, shifting colors. Thousands of alien figures stood in silent tiers, their tall bodies wrapped in flowing metallic robes. Their many eyes were fixed on one small human standing alone at the center of the floor. Elias felt small, but he stood straight. He was the last voice Earth had sent. The air hummed with power as the alien queen sat upon her throne, a massive structure grown from living crystal and ancient metal. She was taller than any of her subjects, her crown shaped like spreading wings. Her eyes burned with cold intelligence, and her presence pressed down on everyone in the chamber like gravity itself. The Jarun had conquered world after world. Some had fallen to war, others to fear. Earth had tried diplomacy. It had failed. Now Elias stood here, knowing this was not a negotiation. A deep, echoing voice filled the chamber as the queen spoke through the Dominion's translators. "The human species stands accused of resistance," she said. "You have rejected assimilation. You have disrupted Dominion expansion. You have wasted our time." A low sound rippled through the court, a mix of amusement and hunger. Elias knew what came next: judgment, then invasion. He swallowed, but did not look away. "You have been granted one final statement," the queen continued. "Speak, human, your words will not change the outcome." Elias felt his heart pound in his chest. He had practiced speeches, arguments, emotional pleas. None of them mattered anymore. The queen's eyes told him that clearly, yet something else stirred inside him, a strange calm, a feeling he had carried since childhood but never understood, a pull like a memory he had never lived. He took a slow breath. The translators floated closer, ready to convert his words into galactic common. But Elias did not speak in that language. Instead, he spoke in another. The sound that left his mouth was soft, precise, and ancient. The syllables did not match any known tongue used among the stars. They flowed like music but carried weight, as if each word pressed against reality itself. The translators froze. The glow in the chamber flickered. For a brief moment, no one reacted. Then the first whisper passed through the court. Several Jarun stepped back in shock. Others stared, unmoving, as if struck by lightning. The queen's expression changed. Her eyes widened. Her fingers tightened around the arms of her throne. Elias continued speaking, the words coming to him naturally now, as if he had always known them. He did not fully understand their meaning, yet he felt them settle into place like pieces of a long-lost pattern. The chamber grew silent. No one interrupted him. When Elias finally stopped, the sound of his last word echoed longer than it should have, vibrating through the crystal walls. The air felt heavier, charged. The alien queen did not speak. She did not move. She sat completely still, frozen in place, her gaze locked on the human before her. The silence stretched. Elias felt sweat on his palms. He wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Maybe the strange language had been some reflex of fear. Maybe it meant nothing at all. Then one of the queen's advisors collapsed. The tall alien fell to one knee, pressing its forehead to the floor in a gesture of deep submission. Murmurs exploded across the chamber. More advisors followed, their proud forms bowing lower and lower. The queen finally moved. She rose slowly from her throne. Every Jarun in the chamber froze, their movements stopping instantly. The queen stepped forward, her long robes whispering against the crystal floor. Her face was no longer cold. It was tight with something Elias had never seen on an alien ruler before: fear. "Where did you learn that language?" she demanded, her voice no longer echoing with certainty but trembling beneath the surface. Elias blinked. "I don't know," he answered honestly. "I've never studied it. I didn't even know it existed until just now." The queen stared at him as if he were impossible. "That tongue is forbidden," she said. "It was silenced before your species discovered fire." A ripple of unease passed through the court. Elias shook his head. "I can't explain it. I just knew what to say." The queen's eyes narrowed. She raised one clawed hand, and the guards surrounding the chamber tensed, weapons humming to life. Elias braced himself. Instead of ordering his death, the queen did something far more unsettling. She dismissed the court. "Leave us," she commanded. The reaction was immediate. The advisors looked shocked, but none dared disobey. One by one, the vast chamber emptied until only Elias, the queen, and a handful of silent guardians remained. The doors sealed with a deep, resonant tone. The queen studied Elias closely now, circling him slowly. He resisted the urge to turn with her, keeping his eyes forward. "That language," she said quietly, "belongs to the first voice." Elias frowned. "I've never heard of that." "No living species should have," the queen replied. "They were erased from history, from memory, from existence." She stopped in front of him. "They were the architects of dominion itself," she continued. "The ones who shaped laws of command into the fabric of the galaxy. When they vanished, their language vanished with them." Her gaze hardened. "Except it did not." Elias felt a chill run through him. "If it was erased," he asked, "how do you recognize it?" The queen's lips curled into something close to a bitter smile. "Because my people once knelt before it." The words hung heavy in the air. Elias realized then that this was bigger than Earth, bigger than war or survival. He had touched something ancient, something buried so deeply that even the conquerors of the galaxy feared it. "You spoke with the authority of the first voice," the queen said. "Even if you did not understand it, that alone should be impossible." "I'm just human," Elias said. "We don't rule anyone." "Not yet," the queen replied. She turned away from him, staring up at the glowing ceiling as if seeing something far beyond it. "If even one human carries that language, then the legends were wrong, or incomplete." Elias clenched his fists. "What legends?" The queen looked back at him, and for the first time she did not look like an unshakable ruler. She looked like someone facing a truth she had hoped would never return. "The legend says the first voice hid their legacy," she said. "They scattered it where no empire would search. Not in machines, not in monuments." Her eyes locked onto Elias. "They hid it in life." The chamber fell silent once more. Elias felt the weight of her words settle over him. He did not know what it meant yet, but he knew one thing for certain. Humanity was no longer invisible. The silence after the queen's last words felt heavier than any threat Elias had faced before. The glowing walls of the chamber pulsed slowly, as if the structure itself was listening. Elias stood still, his mind racing. He wanted answers, but he also sensed that asking too much, too fast, could be dangerous. The alien queen turned and raised her hand. The remaining guardians stepped back, their weapons dimming. She spoke a sharp command in her own language, and the chamber shifted. Sections of the crystal floor slid apart, revealing a narrow platform that rose from below. Strange symbols glowed along its surface. "Follow," the queen said. Elias hesitated only a moment before stepping onto the platform. It descended smoothly, carrying them deep beneath the throne chamber. The light above faded, replaced by a soft blue glow that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air grew cooler, older, like a place that had not been disturbed for a very long time. Neither of them spoke as the platform came to a stop. They stood in a vast underground hall. Unlike the polished grandeur above, this place felt ancient and solemn. The walls were carved with symbols unlike any Elias had seen, yet some of them stirred a strange familiarity in him. His head began to ache, not painfully, but insistently, as if memories were pressing against the inside of his skull. "This is not part of the Dominion's public records," the queen said quietly. "Few even among my kind know it exists." She walked forward, her footsteps echoing softly. Elias followed, his eyes drawn to a massive structure at the center of the hall. It resembled a tree made of crystal and light, its branches spreading outward in impossible directions. Streams of symbols flowed along its surface like slow-moving rivers. "What is it?" Elias asked. The queen stopped beside the structure. "This is a remembrance core," she said. "One of the last." She placed her hand against it, and the symbols shifted, responding to her touch. The air shimmered, and suddenly images appeared around them, projected into the space like living memories. Elias gasped softly. He saw stars being shaped, not forming naturally but guided by unseen hands. He saw massive constructs spanning solar systems. He saw beings of light and form speaking the same language he had spoken earlier, their words bending reality itself. "The first voice," the queen said. "They did not rule through armies, they ruled through command. Their language was not speech alone, it was instruction." Elias felt his chest tight. "Then why erase them?" The queen's jaw tightened. "Because even gods can fall." The images changed. The first voice began to vanish, their structures collapsing or going silent. Younger species rose, including the ancestors of the Jarun. Fear spread, wars followed. The language was hunted, destroyed wherever it was found. "We believed we had ended it," the queen said. "We believed the galaxy was safe." Elias looked at his hands. They trembled slightly, but somehow it survived on Earth. Yes, the Queen said, and that is what terrifies me. She turned to face him fully. Your species was never meant to reach the stars so soon. You were overlooked, labeled insignificant, a minor world with no strategic value. Elias gave a short, humorless laugh. We hear that a lot. The Queen did not smile. If we had known the truth, Earth would have been watched, studied, controlled. Elias' eyes hardened. Or conquered. Likely, the Queen admitted. The remembrance core pulsed brighter, reacting to Elias' presence. Symbols began to shift more rapidly now, some of them matching the patterns that had appeared in his mind earlier. His headache grew stronger and he staggered slightly. The Queen noticed instantly. You feel it, she said, don't you? Yes, Elias whispered. It's like something is trying to wake up. The Queen stepped closer, her expression a mix of awe and dread. The legends said the first voice hid fragments of themselves, not their bodies, not their minds, but their understanding. She paused. Living vessels, species that could carry echoes of the language without knowing it. Elias looked up sharply. You think that's us? I think it is you, the Queen replied. Before Elias could respond, alarms echoed through the hall. Red light flashed across the ancient walls, clashing violently with the calm blue glow. The Queen spun around, fury flashing across her face. They should not know we are here, she said. A harsh voice echoed through the chamber, amplified by unseen speakers. My Queen, forgive the intrusion, but the High Council demands an explanation. Elias felt his stomach drop. Council, the Queen's hands clenched into fists. They sense the disturbance when you spoke the language. They fear what it means. Heavy footsteps approached from multiple entrances. Elite Dominion guards poured into the hall, their armor darker and more ornate than those above. Their weapons were aimed not at Elias, but at the remembrance core. They want to destroy it, Elias said, realizing the truth. Yes, the Queen replied, and if they do, they will erase proof of what you are. She turned to Elias urgently. If the core is lost, much knowledge dies with it, but some knowledge now resides elsewhere. She looked directly at him. In you, the guards advanced. One of the council members stepped forward, its voice cold and commanding. Step away from the artifact, Your Majesty. The human will be taken into custody. The Queen did not move. No, she said. The word carried power, but this time it was political, not ancient. The council member hissed in anger. You risk everything for a single human, it said. The Queen raised her chin. I risk everything to avoid repeating the greatest mistake in our history. The council member turned its gaze toward Elias. You should not exist, it said. Your kind was meant to forget. Elias felt something shift inside him. The fear he had carried since entering the chamber changed into something else. Resolve. I didn't choose this, he said, but I won't let you bury the truth again. Without fully understanding how, Elias spoke again, not the full language, just a fragment, a single word. The remembrance core flared with blinding light. The guards froze mid-step. Their weapons powered down instantly, falling silent. Shock rippled through the council members. The Queen stared at Elias, her breath catching. You're learning, she whispered. Elias swayed, the effort draining him, but he remained standing. I don't know what I'm doing, he admitted, but I know this is wrong. The light dimmed slowly, leaving the hall bathed once more in soft blue glow. The council members backed away, fear finally overcoming authority. This changes everything, one of them muttered. The Queen straightened, authority returning to her posture, though her eyes never left Elias. Yes, she said. It does. She turned to Elias. You can no longer be an envoy. He met her gaze. What am I then? The Queen answered honestly. A question the galaxy is not ready to face. Far above, the stars continued to burn, unaware that something ancient had stirred. Humanity's role in the universe was shifting, and the echoes of a forgotten language were beginning to spread, word by word, into a future no empire could fully control. Elias did not sleep. The room they placed him in was calm, almost gentle, but his mind would not slow down. The walls glowed with a soft white light that adjusted to his breathing. The bed shaped itself to his body, offering comfort he could not accept. Every time he closed his eyes, symbols rose behind his thoughts, glowing shapes that shifted and rearranged themselves like living ideas. He was not afraid anymore. That scared him more than anything else. Outside the room, the Jarun station moved silently through space. Massive, ancient, and powerful. Inside it, empires argued, councils feared, and a queen questioned everything she had ever believed. and in the center of it all was a human who should not have mattered. Elias sat up and pressed his hands together. His fingers trembled slightly, not from weakness but from pressure. It felt as if something inside him was stretching, trying to make room. A soft tone sounded at the door. "It's open," he said. The door slid aside, and the alien queen stepped in alone. She no longer wore her crown. Without it, she looked less like a ruler and more like a being carrying a great weight. "You should be resting," she said. "I don't think I can," Elias replied. She studied him for a long moment. "Neither could I once." She moved closer, stopping a respectful distance away. "The council is divided. Some want you erased, others want you studied. A few want to kneel." Elias gave a tired smile. "That's comforting." "It should not be," the queen said. "It means uncertainty." "Empires do not survive uncertainty." Elias looked up at her. "Maybe that's the problem." She did not argue. Instead, she raised her hand and activated a small field around them. The room dimmed and the hum of distant systems faded. "We are not being observed now," she said. "What I am about to show you is not recorded." The air between them shimmered and an image appeared. It was Earth, not as Elias remembered it, but older, much older. The continents were different. The stars above it were unfamiliar. Elias' breath caught. "That's my home." "Yes," the queen said, "as it was tens of thousands of cycles ago." The image shifted. Small groups of early humans appeared, living simple lives. Then something else became visible. Light, faint but present, moving among them. "The first voice came to many worlds," the queen said, "but only one was chosen for preservation." Elias watched as the light touched the humans, not changing them physically, but sinking into them, into their minds. "They did not give you technology," the queen continued. "They gave you continuity." The scene changed again. Great wars burned across the galaxy. Entire species vanished. The first voice faded one by one until only echoes remained. "They knew they would be hunted," the queen said. "So they broke themselves apart, not into weapons. Into ideas." The image focused on a single human child staring up at the stars. The same symbols Elias had seen in his dreams flickered briefly behind the child's eyes. Elias felt his throat tighten. "All this time we were carrying it?" "Yes," the queen replied. "But without knowing, the knowledge was locked behind limits, your emotions, your creativity, your unpredictability." She looked at him carefully. "They trusted you because you were imperfect." Elias let out a slow breath. "That might be the first nice thing an alien has ever said about us." The queen's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile. "It is also the most dangerous thing." The image vanished. The room returned to normal. "Why me?" Elias asked quietly. "Why did it wake up now?" The queen considered this. "Because you stood before power and spoke without hatred. The language does not respond to dominance alone. It responds to intent." Elias looked down at his hands. "I didn't want to win, I just didn't want us erased." "That is why it answered you," she said. A sudden tremor ran through the station, not violent but noticeable. Elias looked up sharply. "What was that?" The queen's expression hardened. "A message just reached us. Multiple fleets are changing course." Elias felt a chill. "Toward Earth?" "Yes," she said. "Toward you?" The council's fear was spreading. Other empires had sensed the disturbance when Elias spoke. Whispers were traveling faster than ships. A human had spoken the forbidden language. A human had halted Dominion weapons with a word. Some would want to destroy that threat. Others would want to control it. The queen straightened. "You cannot remain here." Elias stood as well. "Running won't stop them." "No," she agreed, "but preparation might." She led him through corridors Elias had never seen, deep into the station's oldest sections. The walls here were not polished. They bore marks of age, and some symbols were carved directly into the structure. Elias slowed as the pressure in his head increased. The symbols reacted to him, glowing faintly as he passed. "You feel them," the queen said. "They feel familiar," Elias replied, "like half-remembered thoughts." They entered a circular chamber with a low ceiling. In the center floated a small, dark sphere, no larger than a human head. It absorbed light rather than reflecting it. "This is a seed archive," the queen said, "one of the last untouched." Elias stared at it. "What does it do?" "It does not store information," she replied. "It unlocks it." She met his gaze. "If you connect to it, more will awaken within you, not commands, not control, understanding." "And the cost?" Elias asked. The queen did not look away. "You will never be ordinary again." Elias let out a quiet laugh. "I think that ship already left." He stepped forward. The moment his hand touched the sphere, the world fell away. He was not in the chamber anymore, he was everywhere. He saw stars from angles no human eye had ever known. He felt time stretch and fold. He sensed patterns beneath reality, not as equations but as relationships. Cause and effect, action and consequence, choice and outcome. Voices echoed, not speaking to him but through him, not orders, questions. Who will you protect? What will you preserve? What will you refuse to become? Elias felt his own memories rise to meet them. Earth, humanity, its flaws, its kindness, its violence, its hope. He did not hide any of it. The voices quieted, something settled into place. When Elias opened his eyes, he was on his knees. The sphere had vanished, dissolved into light that now flickered beneath his skin for just a moment before fading. The queen knelt beside him, steadying him without hesitation. "What did you see?" she asked softly. Elias took a long breath. "Enough to know we can't rule anyone. And enough to know we can't let anyone else rule everything." She searched his face. "That answer would have terrified my ancestors. Does it terrify you?" he asked. She thought carefully. "Yes," she said, "and that is why I believe it is right." Alarms sounded again, louder this time. The queen stood. "They are coming sooner than expected." Elias rose unsteadily but remained upright. "Then we don't hide." He looked toward the stars beyond the station walls. Somewhere out there, fleets were moving. Decisions were being made. "We speak," he said, "not with commands, with truth." The queen nodded slowly. "Then the galaxy is about to learn something it has forgotten." "What's that?" Elias asked. She looked at him not as a ruler but as an equal. "That power does not have to mean control." The stars outside the station no longer felt distant to Elias. He could not explain why, but he sensed movement among them like tension before a storm. Fleets were approaching, not one or two but many. Some carried fear. Others carried hunger. All carried questions. The Jarun station shifted course, moving away from open space and toward a quiet region near a dying star. The queen stood beside Elias at a wide viewing window, her hands clasped behind her back. "They are forming a perimeter," she said. "Not to attack yet, they want to see." Elias nodded. "They're waiting for us to make the first move." "Yes," she replied, "and they expect dominance, threats, displays of power." Elias exhaled slowly. "That's not what they'll get." Behind them, the chamber filled with advisors, commanders, and observers. Some looked at Elias with open fear, others with anger, a few with something close to hope, though they tried to hide it. The queen turned to face them all. "Open a broadcast," she commanded. "All channels. All frequencies." A ripple of shock moved through the room. "That will expose us," one advisor protested. "Every empire will listen." "That is the point," the queen replied. The broadcast activated. Images of countless bridges, halls, and command centers appeared in the air. Leaders of many species stared back, their faces tense and wary. Elias felt the weight of their attention press down on him. This was not a throne room anymore. This was the galaxy. The queen spoke first. "You have felt it," she said. "The disturbance. The echo of a language you believed dead." Murmurs spread across the gathered images. "I confirm it is real," she continued. "And I confirm it came from a human." Outrage erupted. Some leaders shouted, others demanded proof, some threatened immediate action. Elias stepped forward before the queen could continue. "My name is Elias Wren," he said, his voice steady. "I speak for myself, not as a ruler, not as a weapon." Several leaders leaned closer to their displays. "I did not search for this," Elias continued. "I did not inherit it through conquest. It was placed in my species long before we reached the stars." A tall, armored figure snarled. "Then your kind is a threat by design." Elias met the alien's gaze. "So are all of you. You just learned to aim it earlier." Silence followed. Elias went on. "The language you fear is not a tool of control. It only became that because you used it that way. What it truly carries is memory, understanding, responsibility." A leader with glowing eyes interrupted. "Then command our fleets to stand down." "Prove your restraint." Elias shook his head. "I won't." Anger flared across many faces. "Because that would be control," Elias said calmly, "and that is exactly what ended the first voice." The queen watched him closely. This was not what ancient rulers would have done. "That was the point." Elias spread his hands slightly. "I will not command you, but I will speak to you." The symbols stirred faintly in his mind. He did not force them. He let them flow naturally, like thought given shape. Across the galaxy, systems reacted, not shutting down. Not obeying, listening. "You built empires on fear," Elias said. You kept peace by threatening destruction, and every one of you knows it cannot last. Some leaders shifted uncomfortably. The first voice failed because they tried to hold everything together alone, Elias continued. They made themselves necessary, irreplaceable. He looked directly at the Queen, then back to the others. Humanity is not here to replace them. A low voice spoke from one of the displays. Then why reveal yourselves at all? Elias answered honestly. Because hiding only delays collapse. Truth gives a chance to choose something else. The broadcast room was silent. Then something unexpected happened. One fleet powered down its weapons. Another followed, not all but enough to matter. The Queen felt it immediately. They are standing down voluntarily, she said softly. Elias nodded. They're choosing. Alarms sounded again, sharper this time. Multiple signatures breaking formation, a commander reported. Not all fleets are standing down. Elias closed his eyes briefly. He had known this would happen. They won't all listen, he said. No, the Queen agreed. Some will try to take what you represent. A hostile fleet surged forward, weapons charging. Their leader appeared on the display, eyes burning. You think words can stop us? It hissed. We will claim the source. Elias stepped forward again. This time the pressure inside him was stronger, not painful, focused. He spoke a phrase, not a command. A clarification. Across the hostile fleet, systems responded, not failing, not obeying, revealing. Hidden logs surfaced. Suppressed histories unfolded. The fleet's own crews saw records of worlds they had erased, truths their leaders had buried. Confusion spread, orders faltered. What have you done? The fleet leader demanded. I showed you yourselves, Elias replied quietly. The fleet hesitated, then slowly, painfully, it withdrew. The broadcast erupted into chaos. The Queen raised her voice. This ends now. She stepped beside Elias, no longer above him, but with him. The age of silent domination is over, she declared. Not because of a new ruler, but because the lie that power must control has been broken. Some leaders cut their feeds. Others remained, watching in stunned silence. When the broadcast ended, the room felt hollow. Elias leaned against the railing, exhaustion catching up with him. The Queen placed a steadying hand near his shoulder, not touching, but close enough to matter. You have made enemies, she said. Yes, Elias replied, but not as many as I could have. She inclined her head. You have also made something else. What's that? Time, she said, for change. Outside, the stars seemed calmer, not peaceful, but less tense. The Queen turned to her advisors. Prepare for negotiation, not war, for once. They stared at her, then obeyed. Elias watched the fleets disperse, not united, not defeated, but uncertain. For the first time, uncertainty did not feel like weakness. It felt like possibility. Deep within ancient systems across the galaxy, old structures shifted. Not awakening to rule, but unlocking to allow choice. The language of legends did not spread as command, but as memory, asking every civilization the same question. What will you do now that you remember? Elias closed his eyes and breathed. Humanity had not conquered the stars. It had reminded them how fragile power truly was. The galaxy did not change all at once. That truth became clear in the days that followed. Some fleets withdrew fully. Some stayed at a careful distance. Others vanished into deep space, carrying fear and plans no one could yet see. The stars still held danger, ambition, and old grudges. But something had shifted beneath all of it, like a deep current changing direction. Elias felt it even when he was alone. He stood again at the wide viewing window, watching a nearby system slowly rotate. The dying star nearby glowed red and tired, its light washing softly over the station's hull. For the first time since leaving Earth, Elias felt the weight of distance less sharply. The Queen approached quietly. She had learned how humans moved when they did not wish to announce themselves. It was a small thing, but it mattered. The councils are forming new assemblies, she said. Voluntary ones, no single empire leads them. Elias nodded. That won't last forever. No, the Queen agreed, but it will last long enough. She joined him at the window. Your world has sent messages, many. Elias smiled faintly. I imagine they're confused. They are proud, the Queen said, and afraid. That sounds like us, Elias replied. The Queen studied him. You could speak again, shape more systems, reveal more truths. I could, Elias said, but I won't. She turned to him. Why? Because the moment I become necessary, he said, we start down the same path again. The Queen was silent for a long time. You know, she said slowly, my people believed peace required someone at the top, someone strong enough to force it. And did it work? Elias asked. For a time, she said, at great cost. Elias looked out at the stars. Human history taught us something similar. Empires fall. What remains are the people who help each other rebuild. The queen considered that. Your species is young, she said, yet you speak like one that has failed many times. Elias smiled sadly. We've had a lot of practice. A message alert sounded softly. The queen accepted it, her eyes scanning the data. It is time, she said. For what? Elias asked. For you to speak one last time, she replied. Not to the galaxy, to your own kind. Elias felt a knot tighten in his chest. They won't like everything I say. They should not, the queen said. Truth rarely comforts. The broadcast chamber was smaller than the first, more focused. The screen filled with faces from Earth. Leaders, scientists, soldiers, civilians. Some looked relieved to see Elias alive. Others looked overwhelmed. Elias took a breath. He did not use the ancient language. He spoke as a human. We are not chosen, he said. We are not rulers. We are not the owners of some forgotten power. Confusion spread across the screens. We were trusted, Elias continued. Trusted to remember something the galaxy forgot. That power without restraint destroys itself. Images appeared beside him, not forced, but offered. Moments of cooperation across species, fleets standing down, worlds opening talks for the first time in centuries. This is not our victory, Elias said. It's our responsibility. A leader from Earth spoke up. Does this mean we are protected? Elias shook his head. No. It means we are seen. Another voice asked, Can you stop them if they attack? Elias paused. He chose his words carefully. I can help them understand why they shouldn't. The rest depends on us all. Silence followed. Then a quiet voice, not a leader's, spoke. So what do we do? Elias felt something warm settle in his chest. We do what we've always done, he said. We learn, we cooperate, we refuse to become what we fear. The broadcast ended. The queen watched him closely. You just gave up absolute power, she said. I never wanted it, Elias replied. She inclined her head deeply, not as a ruler, as a being showing respect. In the weeks that followed, Elias did not travel as a conqueror or a king. He became something quieter and far more difficult to define. A bridge, a reminder. Sometimes a witness. He spoke when asked. He listened when not. The ancient systems continued to unlock, but slowly, carefully. They no longer responded to single voices. They responded to consensus, to shared intent. Some empires tried to reclaim control. They failed not because of force, but because too many now remembered alternatives. Humanity did not rise above the galaxy. It stood within it. On Earth, the stars felt closer, not safer, but more honest. Children learned that their species carried no destiny of rule, only a history of survival and choice. Elias returned home eventually, not in secret, not in glory. He walked on soil again. He felt rain. He heard laughter. Sometimes, late at night, he still sensed the language resting quietly within him, not demanding to be spoken, just waiting, not for orders, for understanding. Far across the stars, the alien queen stood before a new council, one where her voice was equal, not supreme. She no longer feared the forgotten language. She feared forgetting its lesson, that no throne lasts forever, that true strength is knowing when not to command, and that a small, imperfect species from a quiet world had reminded the galaxy of something it once knew, then lost. The future was uncertain.